Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Creative Dirt. I'm your host, Honor Taryn Teague, and this is a podcast and community all about cultivating creativity in your daily life. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We've taken a brief break from the podcast, but I'm super excited to be back and offering you guys some more episodes. We have today with us Carli Brill, and she is one of the most amazing singer-songwriters. I've had the joy of being able to listen to her amazing voice at my church over the past couple years, and she literally has one of the most amazing singing voices I've ever heard. But she's also a songwriter. So I'm super excited to have her on today to sort of talk about her songwriting as a form of creative self-care. She is a huge journaler, and I'm excited to have you guys hear sort of her process related to that. And I also really loved how she connected her faith to her creativity and her creative process. That's something we haven't really talked a lot about on the podcast yet, but I love how intentional her creative practice is for her, similarly to how her faith and spirituality is. I love her perspective. Well, without further ado, we're going to jump right into part two. I'm excited to have you guys hear it. Okay, Carli,
Yay.
Welcome to Creative Dirt.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
Yes.
This is so fun.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, can you introduce yourself for all of the guests listening today?
Yes. I live in Nashville right now. If anyone's listening that doesn't know me, I live in Nashville. I've been here since 2019. My husband and I moved here from California. We have a dog.
Oh,
He's great. His name is Porky.
Porky?
Yeah,
Like
and
this
he-
pig?
Like the pig.
That's so cute.
And we just found out he gained 9 pounds.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
So he's on a diet. Porky's on a diet. Let's see what else. I'm a musician
That rocks.
here in Nashville, like a lot of people. It's great.
So tell me about how you came to know that you were a musician. Did it start with songwriting? Did it start with singing?
Yeah.
How did we get there?
Yeah. Definitely started with singing.
Mhm.
I didn't start songwriting until like my 20s,
Okay.
honestly, which is kind of odd, especially being here in Nashville now. I'm like talking to people that have been songwriting since they came out of the womb, and like that's not my story. But I'm privileged to be around a lot of great songwriters here. But yeah, I definitely started with singing. I liked singing as a kid. I didn't grow up around music though. So it was kind of like, I was just singing at home, like in the shower, in the hallways, things like that. Nothing like very, I wasn't a part of like a group or anything until junior high. I was becoming more interested in like playing music, like kind of expanding outside of just singing. I wanted to now play music. And so, I wanted piano lessons, but I was too young for some reason. So this must have been like before junior high. So I remember being too young, and my 2 older sisters, they took piano lessons, and I was so jealous. I was like, I want them, because they hated their lessons.
Oh.
It was like one of those things where they had to, like my mom like really wanted them to do it.
Yes.
And they hated it. And so I was like, I want to do it so bad. But the piano teacher like didn't teach kids younger than 10 or something like that.
You could have done
it. So that was off the table. And then in junior high, I remember I had gotten my very first guitar for my birthday. And it was cool because like my family, my siblings and my parents all came together and like pitched in their money and bought me my first guitar.
That's sweet.
Yeah. It was like from Costco or something.
A Costco guitar. Oh my gosh, Costco has great stuff though.
Yeah.
So.
It was probably actually Sam's Club.
Okay.
I was a Sam's Club kid. Yeah, we didn't go to Costco.
That rocks.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it started with strumming on the guitar, and then it just like the rest is history?
No, but it started with strumming for sure.
Okay.
And kind of figuring out things for myself, like honestly started in church. Like I said, I didn't really grow up around music, so my parents but did grow up in church. So they encouraged me to, like join the worship teams and kind of like learn from those people. And So I taught myself a few chords. Like, looking back, I don't know how I taught myself chords, because, like, this is not, the internet progressed very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And this is not, like, this must have been 2003, 2004, maybe. So I'm not just, like, hopping onto Google and, like, G chord. Like, how do I play it? They're going on YouTube. Like, it wasn't really like that yet. So, I don't know how, but I did. Like, I taught myself some chords, like basic chords. And then eventually my parents had me take guitar lessons with kind of like a family friend who was a worship leader. And I remember taking some voice lessons as well from her. And that was, I was maybe like 14 or 15 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's okay. Yeah. So tell me so you started developing your music singing skills, and then how did you sort of develop your style as like a singer and a songwriter? Where did you get from, like, how did you go from learning how to do these things to, like, developing your style?
A lot of that honestly came once I moved to Nashville.
Okay.
I was able to have a lot more time in Nashville to focus on it. And I think just being surrounded by it too, like, really expanded my creativity. 'Cause back home, I didn't really have, like, an artist community back home. So it felt very, like, I felt kind of lost in what I was doing. And I was doing a lot of church things, which I think is great and I still love to do and want to do. But there wasn't any, like, encouragement to, like, explore your artistry outside of singing worship songs. So when I came here, I was introduced to just a lot of different kinds of music. And one thing that I've always known about myself is that I've been a lover of, like, vintage things, music, or just, like, home decor, pottery, anything, like, really. So naturally I've been drawn to older music, like, specifically, like, from the 60s. And I would find that when I would, like, go to write a song, I'm being inspired from all of these, like, 60s melodies. Very, like, pretty, soft, very, like, I love, like, a lot of harmonies, like, layered and stuff. I love the Beach Boys.
Yes.
So, like, I think when I would go to make music, that would just naturally come out because that's what I was naturally listening to. Whatever we pour out, like, we take in, how do I say this? We pour out what we take in.
Yes.
Whether that be creatively or spiritually or whatever, like, you're pouring out from something that you're taking in. So that's what I was taking in and still do, a lot of, like, 60s music. So I think I really found my sound in that once I came to Nashville and kind of, like, learned that about myself. Like, oh, I like this. I'm drawn to this. But it's also a little challenging because most people aren't, like, doing that kind of thing. I think when you say, like, pop music, people will automatically think, like, Katy Perry or, like, that kind of pop music. When I kind of like to find a balance between, like, yes, what I do is, like, vintage inspired, but also I want it to be relevant to today. So in a way, it's like, if you were to just throw out, like, a general, like, genre name, somebody would probably call it pop. What I do. But yeah, it has a little flavor from the past.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you talked about your interest in, like, olden things.
Yeah.
Because I grew up here in Nashville, and I would always go to the Nashville Public Library with my dad, like, on Saturdays when I was in, like, middle school and high school. And I would always go straight to the music section that was, like, like the oldies section. So I got really interested in, like, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Sam Cooke, like, all this, like, older stuff. And I'm like, wow, it's like they don't make music like that anymore.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't.
And that's interesting too, though, like, for you growing up in Nashville and being around music, it was just normal. Like,
Yeah, well, I was around a lot of people who were like good singers too,
Yeah.
and also grew up in church. And so there was a lot of like singing involved in
Yeah.
that. But yeah, everybody was always really good at singing. And or I'd go to like somebody's like parents' house, and they would be like, oh yeah, I'm a musician on the side or something like that. So yeah, it was cool. But I personally have no musical talent, and my family
Really?
doesn't really. Not really. I mean, I can like.
You can bob your
I
head.
can bop my head.
Uh-huh.
I can hang with it. I appreciate music.
Yeah.
But I'm not a musician or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about songwriting a little bit. What sort of themes do you generally explore in your writing? Is it the same stuff or different things?
It's changed over the years. When I first started writing, it was simply like, I just want to write a song. So like anything that would come out. And I think there's some good things about that too, even today, just to write for the sake of writing and like being in the practice of it. But I've gone through different seasons of writing, of course, like the season of writing love songs, and then like the season of writing just about like introspectively, what am I going through? Like what am I struggling with? I think a lot of songwriters would probably say the same thing, but I love like sad songs. And so it's very easy for me to kind of get stuck in that and like the emotion and the sadness and like the weightiness, because that it's almost easier to like make art when you're sad.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like because the your emotion is so strong, like sadness. It's just so it like takes over everything.
So Carli, can you tell me about a song that you've written before that has a lot of like personal meaning to you, and like kind of what that process was like?
Yeah. When I first kind of made the switch to start writing more of like spiritual faith-based music, I felt there was this very specific time where I felt the Lord say like, it's time, like let's explore this, let's do this. And I didn't know where to start because I don't really have a background in like writing Christian music. And so I felt him say start with Psalm 23. And I'm like, okay, there's like a million songs written about Psalm 23. So I don't know if we really need another one, but I'll do it. And so I kind of started the process, and I started it and I left it for like maybe a couple weeks. And then I came back to it. I remember it was a Sunday, specifically it was like Sunday night. And I'm writing this song, and I get to the part where it's the Valley of the Shadow of Death. I'm like crafting this part, like how do I do this? How do I go about this? And as I'm writing it, I'm thinking in my mind like, I'm not really in like the valley right now. Like I'm not in a dark place. I'm pretty happy. Things are kind of good. So just feeling like that disconnect with the lyrics that you're writing is kind of odd too as a songwriter sometimes. But I'm like, let's do this. And so not even like 20 or 30 minutes later, that same night, as I'm writing the song, that part of the song, my dog, she got, she had heart failure, basically, is what we found out. And she ended up passing that same night.
Oh my God.
And it was just wild to like, looking back, it's wild to know that I was writing this song that was going to kind of carry me through that season of losing someone that I really loved. And I just how the Lord was preparing me for that. And how I actually had that thought of like, I'm not sad right now. I'm not in a dark place. And he's like, oh, you will be.
Oh my gosh.
Just watch. Yeah, so that song is very, very special to me, and not recorded, but I do plan to record it.
Okay. Yeah. You got to release it.
Yeah,
I want to hear it.
It'll come out sometime. Hopefully this year.
Do you have any advice for anyone listening to help them sort of translate what's in their head to what's on paper?
Ooh,
that's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. But it's funny because I work with this nonprofit here in Nashville, where we actually teach songwriting to middle schoolers.
Okay.
And so it's been really cool to kind of just get to like the basics of how do you start a song. So I feel like this question is almost like what I do on a regular basis with kids. But I don't think it's any different with adults either. If you've never written a song before, you're starting with a blank slate. So I would say that journaling, honestly, is such a good place to start and to never like grow out of journaling either. I don't think that like you ever get to a point where you're like, I'm good. Maybe some people do, but like the way that my brain works is it's just very helpful for me mentally, like mental health, and then also for my creative health. So journaling is a great place to start. Like if you're looking for a way to get your thoughts out. And I think it's called like stream of consciousness. Like you're not really even thinking about what you're writing. You're just writing. Like you get into flow state and you just like, it just starts coming out and you're like, oh wow, I never knew that was there. So that's really, really helpful for me. And I think for other people, I try and tell my students that journaling is good. We take like 5 minutes at the beginning of each class, and we'll sometimes we'll have a prompt. It depends on like how we're feeling. I'll ask like, what's our energy level on a scale of 1 to 10? And if like most girls are like 10, you know, okay, we're in for it today. It's gonna be a fun class. Then I'll be like, okay, let's just like pick a prompt and go with that. So even having like your own personal prompts are really good. Just keeping a list on your phone or something, or wherever you want to keep it. Simple prompts. Don't underestimate the simple prompts. What's your favorite color? Like you asked me. You know, like I said pink, and then I was like, yeah, because it's kind of scary that I like pink right now, but it's for some reason I'm being drawn to pink, you know, like even looking at these colors, I'm like, pink was the one that caught my eye first. So you just like start exploring all these different emotions once you really sit with it. So
that's cool.
Basic questions are good too.
Okay, what about consistency in journaling? I feel like I really struggle with consistency in like anything. But as being a journaler, it kind of implies that it's like something you're doing regularly. What does that look like for you?
This is really practical thing that has helped me in journaling is not feeling like I need to explain or write out every single detail. Like I think when I used to journal in the past, and as a kid, I remember journaling and I would write out like it was like a story. Like I had to, almost like I was writing a letter to a friend. And maybe for some people that works. For me, it was like I found myself being exhausted with writing out so many details. Like I'd be like, and then my friend who I met at church, and you know, I was like writing out, I'm like, I don't need to tell my journal this. Just like get out like what you need to get out. You don't need to get out those little details that don't matter. So that has helped with like not exhausting my mind or my hand.
That's a good point.
Because like sometimes I'm writing and honestly like my hand hurts.
And I feel like when I've tried it before, my head kind of gets farther than my hand does, and then I'm like, okay, where am I going next? And my head is thinking on something different.
So I'd say that's like a practical tip. And then also I think kind of just changing your mindset around it, and to think of it more as like a part of your routine, whatever your routine looks like in the morning or at night, whenever you have a routine. Just finding ways to realistically incorporate it.
That's the hard part, the realistic part.
It has to be realistic, or else you don't keep up with it.
Do you do it in the morning or? Get up first thing.
Yes. Like sometimes it depends where I'm at. It depends what kind of season I'm in. Like right now, like I said, it's very loud season mentally. There's just a lot of noise in my mind. So I will try to be very conscious of like how often I'm looking at my phone versus how often I'm just like looking at the world through my normal eyes. So how I set the morning oftentimes will like that kind of sets the entire day for me. So First thing, I do try and do it first thing. Some mornings I have to say to myself, I'm like not even touching my phone until after this.
Okay.
And, but, honestly, most mornings I'll wake up. It's hard too, because then your phone, like, it's your clock, it's your everything right now, which sucks. So, sometimes I will look at it, and looking at it, that sounds like so extreme, like saying like, I'm not going to look at it. Yeah. But I think I can be very black and white sometimes. Okay. So for me, it's kind of like a good thing to have that hard rule.
Need to not be around it.
Yeah. Yes. Put it in another room. Yes. Yeah. So, but yeah, I do try to keep it like first thing in the morning as much as possible.
Do you feel like being on the phone and internet and all this kind of stuff like takes away some of your inspiration, or like in what ways is it sort of like detrimental to your creation?
Yeah, I think simply looking at a screen is like detrimental.
Oh,
it's
so hard.
Like I've never been inspired more from looking at a screen than I have been from looking just at the world around me.
Totally.
Like being in nature or something. And like, I'm not even a crazy nature person, but like, I have to admit that when I go outside and I go for a walk, like I feel something and I'm like, I get that breath of fresh air that I needed and like a reset. That's and looking at your Pinterest board doesn't do the same thing.
No. And I think too, in some of the struggles I've had with like trying to do creating is that like, oh, I'll see somebody else doing something really creative and I'll go, wow. And then like, that's it. And then I won't spend the rest of my day doing anything creative.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of like a false, like you feel like you're getting creativity, being creative, but like you're not doing that at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, so
I've had that inner battle for years, because I know exactly what you're talking about, where you look at someone doing something that's really awesome and it almost feels like you did it. You're like, oh, that felt good to watch that, or it feels like I just did something creative. And for me, that's kind of a dangerous place to be because it's false. It's creating this like lie in my head. And I think that's what has held me back for a lot of years in making music or in writing. Like I said, I didn't really start writing until my 20s. So, but I listened to music a lot and I liked it. And it was kind of like scratching that itch, but not fully calling me deep. Like I wasn't like stepping into what I was really intended for.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of deceiving.
Yeah. And it's also like 6 million times harder to create something than it is to just like watch something on your phone.
Yeah.
Or like just like consume something or watch somebody else do something.
Yeah.
And it's like, it takes like guts and time and energy and all this stuff to be like the creator. But it is like so much more valuable than just.
Yeah. And it's rewarding too. Like when you look at it objectively, it's so much more rewarding to make something than it is to watch something,
Yeah.
Not that that's bad.
No,
it's just,
if you want to be a creator, you gotta create stuff.
Yeah. Like you have to decide at what point are you gonna, put some effort into it.
And like there is a point where like inspiration is great, but then it's like, okay, you need to like do something with your inspiration.
Yeah, there can be too much inspiration because now you're just confused and you're getting too many voices and opinions.
Speaking of inspiration, where do you get inspiration?
I get a lot of inspiration from vintage things.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like even walking into like an antique store, my mind starts to like go wild.
Okay.
Just like I don't even have to buy anything. I just go in there and like there's all these stories that it's like everything is like saying something and you're like, wow, where did this come from? That's cool. And then I just start like traveling down that thought, but to like old things.
That's cool.
Antique stores, like if I need physical like if I need to be in a space where I need inspiration. But like I said, I work at home a lot. So, which I like being alone, like when I work at least. So like, I don't hate it. It's just the setting your own schedule thing, which is like complicated. But, when I'm home, if I'm like if I don't want to get out of the house, I find a lot of inspiration sitting on my porch.
Okay.
It's very like peaceful. And, I have my little patio table.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. And like, I made it kind of like cute and cozy for myself.
Oh.
And it's a small little porch. It's not even big. It's actually really small, but, it's just enough room for like a table and a chair. And I find so much inspiration there. Last summer, oh my gosh, I was out there. Last summer was very unique because I was off of work and my husband was working. He was opening a shop, so he was kind of pulling long days there. It was a very interesting summer. But I would go out on my patio porch and I would just sit there and read like almost all day.
That's cool.
And I'd like come inside like sweating because it's like we're in the South, and so just sitting outside is like awful. But yeah, it's kind of become like a sacred space for me. That's almost.
Cool. I love that. Also, the birds have been especially chatty here recently, but they've just been yipping and yapping. I know, it's great though. I do love the birds. Yeah. That's awesome. So you have your own little like inspiration corner.
Yeah.
Where you keep coming back to.
Yeah. I love that. And it's kind of turning, the weather is warming up now. So I've been getting excited because I'm like, some mornings I'd be like, I'm going to go on the patio.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of hitting on a little bit of like developing your own little self-care space. So for you, is writing, or how is songwriting like a form of self-care?
It's funny. It doesn't really feel like self-care too often for me because I can put pressure on myself. Once I get to the point of like forming a song, there can be a lot of like just pressure and like insecurities sometimes. So I think that's why I love the journaling so much. Okay. Like that's what I feel like is more self-care. But I think of like the end result. And like we were saying earlier, creating something is so much more rewarding than like watching something. So for me to know that the end result of something that I create it's going to pay off, and not pay off in the, I'm going to release this song and people are going to hear it and praise me. Pay off as in like, I'm going to be a better person because of this.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Because sometimes it's like a lot of things in society are very like transactional. Like I create something and then I make money from it. Or I create something and then you think I'm cool.
Yeah.
But I like that you said it's going to make you a better person, because we don't really think about that as like a form of, I don't know, like payment, if you will.
Yeah. I think just like the confidence that comes with knowing you're pursuing what you were meant to do.
That's cool.
Whether or not money is involved. Like for me, that means more than money.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I don't really make much money off of it.
There you go.
Yeah. So
why do you love songwriting / music / all of it?
I think I can't help it.
Yeah.
I think it's just like something that God built into me that I can't get away from. I tried to get away from it one time and it didn't work.
Whoa. Oh my God.
I mean, not like, I think I tried to take a break.
Okay.
I tried to take a break from it. And, I just come back to it all the time.
That's awesome.
It's what makes me feel most like myself, when I'm just alone in my bedroom with my guitar. Like, and I just had this prayer the other day too, where I was like, whatever happens in this life, like, I felt like it was this moment where I saw, how I was able to see how God sees me.
Wow. And
so, and I felt like he gave me this picture of like this little girl in her bedroom playing her guitar. And I was like, that's who I am. I'm still that little girl. playing my guitar in my bedroom.
From Sam's Club.
From Sam's Club. I still have it too.
Yeah.
And like, that's how God sees me. And so like, no matter what happens in this life, no matter how many songs I write or don't write, like, all he wants is for me to just like be that, simple girl writing songs for him. Really. It's not even writing songs like about myself necessarily, because this was like a spiritual moment, right? So like all of it, I was looking through it, I was looking at it through the lens of that. So but yeah, just remaining that little girl.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Making the most of your purpose.
Yeah.
And what he brought you here to do.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just music.
There you go. Well, Carli, thank you so much.
Thank you, Honor.
You did fantastic. Well, that is all that we have today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you'd like to check out Carli's music, you can listen to her on any music streaming service. And you can also find her on Instagram at Carli with an I, Brill. We'll be back soon with another episode about creative self-care. In the meantime, don't forget, I'm rooting for you.